like a very specific feeling in my body, and I have to go write a poem. Trying to think of anything else. But I get asked that a lot. I've noticed some chord structure patterns let me be much more poetic in my lyric writing, and I only just recently figured that out, which is very funny, because you think I would have known this, 20 years in. But I noticed if I do a very repetitive, simple verse pattern that's over and over and over, I can get a lot of lyrics in. So Who'll Save Your Soul is like that. Just very wordy, and then like a new song like Here When Gone is just this very simple pattern that goes over and over and allows me to just kind of cram a lot into it. So I should probably be doing that more now that I know it. Maybe I'll start. What else? Yeah.
Back in the 90s when I first saw you, you had a full band, and big gap, maybe 8-10 years later, you do the kind of show that you do now, which I prefer, but what happened between then and now?
I always did these solo shows even when I was in the big venues like that. I used a band. I think, it's not entirely true. I had a band before I got into big venues. As I started to kind of learn and experiment. I didn't know how to. I'd only actually ever done what I'm doing now most of my career before I got discovered. And then started experimenting, I think because of Lilith Festival maybe or something like that, where there's huge venues, and it's really hard to pull that off completely solo acoustic, especially if it's daylight. And then as my records did well in bigger venues, it was nice to have the variety. Plus, I just enjoyed experimenting. I'd never really listened to rock music growing up, and as I did start learning to listen to rock music, I started wanting to write it, and so my writing style changed, which required a band and was fun.
Okay.
But I think my heart's always been here. I've always done these solo tours between the band tours, and now, frankly, I'm not selling, big venues like that, and this is sort of my niche, and I'm pretty cheap as well. Like, I like to make the money that I'm making here and not spending it on a band, and I don't need the band, so I don't tend to do it.
I prefer this, thank you.
Yeah, so how's that for you? That said, I do miss being with the band sometimes. Like, that old school style of playing in the 60s where you improvise and you trade, back and forth, and you don't have a set, you just really play off of each other. That's some of the most fun you can have, and I can't do that by myself, so I do miss that aspect of it. Yeah. Okay, what else? Yes, madam. I don't really have any plans yet. Hanging out with the people I love, probably. Yeah.
What's your fondest memory of Poway, California?
What's my fondest memory about Poway, California? I had a nice landlord before he asked us to leave. That was my fault. I couldn't pay the rent, so he had to do it. We had this really beautiful house with an all-glass front. We couldn't afford it, clearly. But it was beautiful and it overlooked everything. Are you from Poway? Yeah. I didn't know a ton about it. Java Joe's is a real fond memory. That's where Java Joe's started, which is kind of where I got my start. I have fond memories of that.